Yeah. I learned that that's what they go. The housing is a charge.
Call to order. Thank you for joining us for our Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 council meeting beginning at 6:30. Roll call.
Good evening. Mr. Moultrie.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here.
Mr. Camry.
Here.
Ms. Bass.
Here.
I would ask Pastor Stockton to bear in mind to lead us in invocation. And we'll be followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you now, and God, we thank you for all your goodness. We thank you, God, for your mercy and your tender kindness. God, we thank you for this assembly that's gathered here today, oh God. We thank you for these people that have gathered in this place on tonight. And God, tonight we pray for unity, of God, amongst the people, of God. We pray that God, you would lead us and guide us in all of decision making. God, we thank you for this coming together, God. We pray, let this to be a reminder, it is about the people, it's not about us. But God, it's about the people, God. We pray for strategy, we pray for insight. God, give us wisdom on tonight as we come together to discuss a decision that will impact this community, God. Yes. We pray for direction, we pray for clarity of thought, that God, we will do what's in the best interest of this community, God. God, we pray your blessing upon this community, upon Chattahoochee, God. Bless everyone, the city council. God, we pray your blessing upon this place, oh God, in the name of Jesus. God, we pray that you will help us to grow together, help us to flourish, help us to come together as one. And we thank you. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amendments and approval of agenda.
Madam Mayor, staff has no amendments to the agenda tonight.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022.
Correct.
Has been properly motion and second.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Glass.
Yes.
Mr. Camry.
Yes.
Ms. Richardson.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
And Mr. Moultrie.
Yes.
Awards, presentation, and appearance.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, we do have one tonight. As I've spoken to you in the past, the Florida Municipal Power Agency, who has assisted us in the past with our wholesale power agreements and rates. I had asked them, I told you at the last meeting, we had asked them sometime back to come in and take an overall look at our electric utility, look at the rates, the hurricane fees, we're going to be having to make a decision on here soon during the budget process. The condition of our plant equipment, and they were kind enough to do that again, and we really appreciate it. And they're going to give you a presentation on what they found and what they recommend.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm Jacob Williams, General Manager and CEO for Florida Municipal Power Agency. We supply 26 of the 31 member cities that we have. We supply part or all of their power, and are glad to be here tonight. Unfortunately, the energy industry is not doing any of our citizens a favor right now. We all know that gas prices are up, and there's a handout there. I'll flip through it, starting on slide 2. We realize, just as you do, that energy costs are driving the inflation in the country, because even the food prices are very much tied back to the price of energy. And the real issue is, around the world, the demand for energy is growing faster post-COVID than the resources can keep up in the country, in the nation, and around the world, especially with conflict going on in Ukraine, helps add to that. As a result, the national energy prices are up 100 to 155% over a year ago for gasoline, oil, and natural gas. What that means for an average Florida family for just energy, average family is paying $3,000 to $4,000 more a year for energy this year than last year. couple that with what the food and grocery installations are, another $3,000 over last year. You know, families are going to have a hard time in this time. From the electric standpoint, the price of electricity in the state of Florida has risen by 15 to 30%. I'll get into why that is in the last year. That's driven by natural gas prices, which we'll talk about. So that's the backdrop at which all this is being considered. The whole country is going through this. In Florida, we're very natural gas dependent. It provides 75% of all the generation, the power generation in the state comes from natural gas. And if natural gas prices go up, the price of power in the state is going up, and there's little we can do about that. Fortunately, you in Chattahoochee have some very competitive electric rates. You're very competitive against your neighbors in that you're in the lower third in the state. And your rates today are still 2% below where they were in 2009. And so it's a good deal. What's been proposed is for Chattahoochee to reduce the surcharge from the Michael event by 7%, and then to just rename it a system resiliency charge. We'll talk about why to do that, because there's infrastructure that's got to be maintained, and we'll talk about it. And then there's some small adjustments in getting the revenues in order, and also an adjustment on how much per month for access to the grid customers would pay to increase what you call the meter charge. We call the distribution and transmission access charge, but we'll get into that. You want to jump to slide 3. There's a couple slides showing you energy prices, and if you look on slide 3, what we did is we took a look at all the major energy costs starting January 1st, 2021, and then did they go up or down from that point? So they're all on the same scale, even though some are in barrels of oil, some are in million BTUs, doesn't matter. We said whatever they were January 21, what's happened? And the solid lines are the prices in the United States. So when you see, for example, gasoline, it's 2.15, that means it's up 115% over a year ago. The black line being oil, up 108%. The red line being natural gas, actually it's probably now up about to 150% over what it was a year ago. Now, and that's bad. It's because we are not drilling enough oil and gas wells in the country to keep up with the incremental demand that's going on. The United States is actually exporting more natural gas into the world right now. We've got terminals along the Gulf Coast that are doing that. And yet the industry has not been allowed to drill for more gas, nor to put in new pipelines around the country that would move the natural gas from the production fields to the customers like here on the East Coast. And so it is well within our ability in this country to meet our own energy needs. We have to have the will to drill for gas and oil and to put the pipelines in so that all customers have a affordable energy price. And right now, it is not affordable. So the other point I'll make is there's the two dash lines. There's a dash red and a dash yellow line. That shows you the international prices for natural gas and the L lines for coal. The red dash line and the solid red line are both the same natural gas. One is priced in the U.S., and then the high one that's dotted is in the world price. And you'll notice the world price is 2 to 5 times above the United States price. That is what Germany and Europe is paying right now for natural gas. It's something in the order of $25 a million BTU, or today natural gas in the United States is $8 a million. Their industry can't afford to pay this price and make product. And so all the market is coming to the United States and saying all the fertilizer that's needed around the world, because Russia produced a third of the fertilizer in the world, they come to the United States. Natural gas is a key ingredient in making fertilizer. So they come to the United States and producing as much fertilizer and basically soaking up more and more demand. Because we've got the cheapest BTUs in the world. We've got the cheapest energy sources in the world. And so everyone's coming here and driving the price up because the rest of the world will pay a lot more for it. Same thing in coal. All right, that's the energy side. If you go to slide 4, This is the metals prices, because it becomes important, especially when you think of upgrading or maintaining your own system. When you put up transformers, you think steel, aluminum for the wire in the air, and you think of copper. Those are the three big commodities that are in the power industry. And if you look what's happened, the price of steel, aluminum, and copper is up 30 to 80% over 2021. And that is problematic. That means all the equipment is much higher cost, and we'll get into that in a minute. Probably one other thing we threw on there was price of lithium. And you go, why is lithium important? Well, for those who are interested in having an electric vehicle, price of lithium went up by 750% because there's not enough lithium in the world to keep up with all the electric cars. So the Teslas and all the car companies are saying it's an extra $5,000 to $10,000 now for a car than it was a year ago, because the batteries cost that much more. Lithium's the key ingredient in batteries. And so we're seeing escalation all over. You could put the same chart up with food, with corn and grains and all that if you wanted to. So that's the backdrop of some of the consideration. You've made good decisions on your power contract. You're doing well there. But everywhere throughout the country and here in Florida, prices are going up, and you'll need to respond accordingly. Now, if you go to slide 5, one area that is important for you all to focus is Chattahoochee's operating cost to run the electric utility is increasing, in large part because there's investments that are needed in the poles and things like that haven't been made, and it's time to make that. Obviously, when Michael came through, it impacted maybe 30, 40% or whatever the number of poles. But there's a lot of poles that are out there that are not in good position. There's a picture here. This is one of your poles, and if you see that little white area on the bottom of on the right-hand side of the pole there, that's where ground is. So below the ground, you see that the pole essentially has been sawed off. It's been deteriorated. You've got poles like that all over your system. They need to be replaced. If you don't, the hurricane will replace them for you, or winds like that will replace them all in one fell swoop. So there needs to be a plan to go ahead and replace those poles so that it's done not in an outage, but done in a systematic way. The whole system isn't this way, but there's a number of poles that are out there that need to be done, and you need to, over a several year period, programmatically just replace the poles. The poles are good for about 40 years. After that, they're going to come down. And so you've got to say, I've got to replace so many poles each year. And if you've deferred maintenance for 10, 15 years, you got a whole bunch of them that are going to come due at some point in time. So, and as a result, what that means is you need to set aside money to do it. You need to make sure you've got some funds to run the utility. And unfortunately, right now, the material costs for the poles are up. The poles are not so bad, but if you jump to the next page, the major facilities you need, poles are up 10, 20%, something like that, over a year ago or over a couple of years. But transformers and wire are up anywhere from 60 to 200% in terms of cost. Wire is aluminum and copper, and those prices are driving up. The other problem we have right now is there's not any extra transformers in the world. We used to get the transformers out of China. Nothing's been moving for a while now. In Europe, that makes transformers, their industry is getting shut down because energy prices are so high. So we're not getting the electrical equipment needed. So if there's a hurricane, we're going to struggle as a country wherever that comes into being. But again, you're going to need to set aside some money so you can go ahead and keep doing that. On slide 7, you've got a great story here. Your rates are low. This is a chart showing all the utilities in the state, what the average residential customer would pay for 1,000 kilowatt hour month in January of this year. And you'll see that Chattahoochee's in the lower third. You're in a great position in terms of where you're at. Well below, let's say Florida Power and Light, let alone Florida Golfing. You're seeing newspaper clippings about people in Pensacola, et cetera, way out of sight. You've got a great thing going. If you go back to slide 8, flip over to slide 8. This is a chart that shows your residential rates compared to the United States average residential rate for a family. And you'll notice that while the residential rates have went up by 19% since 2009, your rates have went down by 2%. Great success story when you all got your new power contract. Wonderful thing. Even though you had to increase rates a little bit because of Michael and put the surcharge in, you still are below where you were in 2009. So you got a great story here. Slide 9 is a comparison of your rates for residential compared to Florida, Florida Northwest, the old Gulf Power part, which is on from here on over to Pensacola, per se. Calquin, the local co-op in the area here, and then Duke, another utility up in the northern part of the state. So again, your rates are lower than all of them last year. So you're in a very good place. Your customers are getting great value from your city utility. Speaking of value to the city, if you jump to slide 10. Slide 10 shows essentially where your city's revenues came from to run the city. Sales tax and other were about 35% of the revenue for the city. Property tax was essentially non-existent for 1%, a little bit for grants, and 56% of the revenues for the city actually came from transfers of revenues from the utility over to the city. So this electric utility, frankly, carries the city on its back. And that's okay. That's an asset you have, and it helps you out. It helps fund police and everywhere else, because otherwise you got to go raise property taxes, which you wouldn't want to do. So, so the only thing I would say is, because you're in that position, remember who the golden goose is. It's the electric utility. Make sure you don't let it go down, and keep investing in it, just to make sure that it's operating, serving the electric needs, but also it provides the majority of the funding back to the city. So with that in mind, if you look at where we're projected to go, and there are studies say, hey, you know, what needs to happen, and on the left-hand side of this column on page 11, left-hand column shows you where your costs are. The cost to buy power is about half of your total revenue or expenses. Then you have a little bit of operation and renewal. That's all the investment you put in the system, which is not much. Then there's all the transfers that the utility makes over to the city, which is a big portion. And there's a little bit of interest. The point of this is that operation and renewal number is not big enough to support the utility long term, and it needs to be a bit higher. And what was baked in was to, on the right-hand side, show you where the revenues are. There's a base rate, and then this shows you in 2023, if you adjusted down right now the surcharge by 7%, that's how much that resiliency, what we'll call resiliency or investment in the system, would be. It's a small adder, and it would allow you then to start investing in the system. Okay. If you all go to the step of approving that, slide 12 shows you here's where your rates will be. So if you look at slide 12, the blue is Chattahoochee, and then the increase in 2022 would take you to $136 a month for 1,000 kilowatt hour. Compared to where FPL is right now, compared to Duke, you're still well below. Again, every utility in the state has went in for 15 to 30% rate increases since January, implemented January 1. So you would not be alone. In fact, you would be, they've already raised their rates. You would just be staying even with them and coming up and still below them all. So I guess then the last thing is, so what do you need to do? Steps to get approval to make the change. There's some things with ordinance readings and filing. The council can direct staff to have an ordinance that supports reducing the surcharge on the storm surcharge by 7%. So it's actually bringing things down a bit. Renaming it a resiliency or an investment charge, because it's not related to the storm anymore. It's to fixing the other poles and things that need to be upgraded. At the same time, there would be a small increase in the per month fixed charge of $3 a month, which is very small in that. And then assuming if you approve, you'd have first and second reading, and then ultimately you'd need to get a filing made at the PSC. We can help you with that, make that real quick and easy. And the PSC doesn't approve it. All they do is just note that you did it, and we have to file with. You all are decision makers for what rates should be in Chattahoochee, not the PSC in Tallahassee. But they do at least want to let know what the price is, what you're charging, and that be on file. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have, or Robert, anything I didn't mention.
No, thank you, Jacob. I think we covered it pretty well, but I'm sure they may have some questions.
Let me start from the last question that I have, and then maybe we'll figure. When we file with the Public Service Commission,
Yes.
if that's what we choose to do, and they do not approve, that does not hinder us from continuing on with what we've done. Just because they didn't approve it, doesn't mean they're going to prohibit us from doing it. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'll go a step further. The PSC, unless you're making dramatic changes where you're saying, oh, the residential customers, we're going to do a 20% increase, in industrial, we're going to decrease by 20%. They would say, hold it, that's not fair across the customer category. But if you take everybody up by the same amount, percentage-wise, so to speak, or with them, they'll approve. Okay, so the probability of them not approving is extremely small, given the way Robert and the team have come up to do it. You're just increasing everyone by the same percentage, so it's fair to everybody. Okay?
And make it clarify, we're not increasing the rates.
Correct.
We're reducing the rates.
Yeah.
But that meter charge, the $3, that's the increase he keeps referring to. It's not a rate. You're decreasing rates.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
your third time. But that meter base charge, that base meter charge will go up a little bit.
Like our legacy storm surcharge, what is it right now? You know?
Yeah, we want to, I don't know, we reduced it by half.
107.538 or something.
And we would reduce it an additional 7%, and we're proposing the renaming the resiliency that he's talking about, so that you build, you
Well,
make these
I understand why we
necessary
have to have it.
improvements, and then if we get, something happen again, God forbid, we are gonna, a condition where we can handle it.
The poles, I know when we had the storm, a lot of the poles were replaced.
Yeah.
Have we figured out how many poles were actually replaced?
Yeah, it's not as many as you would think. He gave a figure of 30%, and that's pretty close. Of all the poles in the city. Yeah, we had the one, that picture, as a matter of fact, was taken up there behind the car wash a week ago. We had to replace two, one it just broke off.
So what is your suggestion, if we agree to replacing the poles, how many a year would be sufficient to keep us from everything just toppling?
Yeah, I mean, what you got to look at is, and some of it is, how bad is because some of the critical ones, you just got to go get. And then the rest of them, you put them on and so you put on like a 10-year cycle, and you say, the poles that are still remaining, not the ones that were put up during the hurricane, poles that are remaining, you probably need to, within the next few years, take care of all of them.
Okay.
And so, Robert can run the math and say, here's how many poles, I don't know the number of poles you have, but
Right, and it's many per year.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be all on the same line, like all down Morgan Avenue at the same time. It can be all over the city sporadically, wherever
Correct.
the worst ones are.
correct. And there's pole testing that you can test the poles and know which ones are. So there's pole testing to be done, which will tell you these are the ones that are about ready to go down.
And they tried to get us to get into a program last year that was available, but we just weren't prepared, we couldn't afford it. But they were doing that for cities all over Florida. It was offered to us, but there was a charge. So that's the kind of things we want to rectify. We want a top-notch
But I was
resiliency.
saying we're gonna replace the poles with the wooden poles that we already have now, or?
Yes, yeah. The poles right now are wood. They're decaying. Put a new wood pole in place. I don't think, Robert, you're not
40
talking about
years.
putting steel or concrete. So it's 40 years. It'll be good to go for the next close to 40 years.
And a new pole like that, they actually hold it up to a major hurricane. They get,
I mean, if it's a Cat 5 with the eye over the city, and trees are coming down on there, that's a debatable subject.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out.
If it's a Cat 3 with just wind, you're gonna be fine. Places like Key West and some of them who are in the prime path, they do everything concrete or steel. But you're talking how much more for concrete or steel?
Yeah, doubles, triples, depending upon the circumstance, and with lead times on hardware today, it's a really difficult thing, so, yeah. My experience with the wood poles is that under modern construction, they'll hold up just fine with the storms. And the thing you have to be more concerned about is if an oak tree falls on a pole, I don't care how new it is. It's probably gonna, right? But by and large, the poles are stronger than the wire that's on them, and that's what makes the difference. Older poles aren't as strong as the wire that's on them, and that's why they fall over.
Have we come up with a plan of a amount? I know that the surge, which we had at the Hurricane Michael, we looked at, we should keep calling it that. But have we came up with a plan of an amount that we need as a city in case of another hurricane? Because I know that's what we're trying to build upon. That's one of the biggest things. So have we come up with that to build
Your ideal number
Right.
would be $2 million.
Okay.
I mean, that's ideal, but if you just have 500,000, you're in better shape than you were, running out trying to get an emergency loan, but your ideal number is $2 million.
So I got another question about the meter charge. If we do go to the smart meters, will we have to increase it again, or will this cover it? That won't
Cover it.
It won't be another charge to the people.
No more.
Let's just assume that the hurricane surcharge is reduced by 7%, and that we rename that to the resiliency charge. That surcharge is put in place as a means to fund the loan before we,
Correct.
that mean we need,
Correct.
is that we would have to at that time pay that loan off, Robert? Is that what that means, or?
We would go after we find out tonight what the council wishes to do, we'll look at that. It was our intent, to pay some more off and address it. It does mature in, end of October, I believe. So depending on how y'all want to handle this, because in all honesty, what your decision, what you direct us to do tonight, we'll have to come back with a plan B. That if you can pay off the note and get rid of that hurricane charge, and I will be right back here with, and they know, it's no game plan, we'll be right back here with a straight rate increase. You got to do it. But this was just a way to do it. We still provide relief to our residents, as you have done since day one that I've been here. This will be our third reduction in their rates. That's kind of unheard of right now with everything that's going on. But that's what we're proposing. We're not in here. But if you don't retain a portion of that and rename it for the resiliency, then we would come pay the loan and make that go away, but you would have to raise your rates.
Now, Rob, if we pay the loan, and I know we at a certain percentage, what kind of percentage would change once we pay the loan for us? Yeah, I know that we're still talking about having something, but wouldn't it be to come down quite a bit?
Your interest would come down based on the amount that you pay, yes. You pay your annual payment, but it'd just be like, let's pay them, we keep like we're doing, pay it on it, and if y'all decide you direct us to go pay it all off this year, then we'll make arrangements to do it, but that'd be more painful, more drastic, as far as rates or whatever we need to do, or we just need to know, because we're going into the budget season, this is what they came in and looked at everything, and in all honesty, I like it. It's painless. It really is. You're still taking care of all your customers. We're still one of the lowest providers in the state of Florida, but it helps get our system where we need to be. I think it's manageable, especially with all the prices, supply chain issues we got right now. This was the best thing that I thought to recommend to you, to maintain a financially secure, resilient system that if Michael comes along this October, you won't be where the city was before. We don't ever want the city to be like that.
So the only thing you really see like a major equipment thing is the poles right now for the city.
Well, we have others though.
You have other things, but the poles are a big part of the backbone. There are other pieces that go with it.
Yeah.
But it's pole by pole, you're gonna get to a lot of this right now.
At some point, you're gonna have substation issues, you know, there's still a lot of old transformers, there's many things. But like you said earlier, just the price of wire, you know, we just bought a couple spools of wire, and who knows where this is gonna end. But right now, this was, and I think we're all in agreement, this was the best recommendation to make. I mean, a lot of people would say, no, you need to increase it, but I would never bring that to you unless I thought we just had to. I think this is very good for our system, doesn't burden the customers, and it helps get us where we need to be.
Have you seen something where, cause when our station down there get hit, the whole city down, have you figured out a way that, you know, I don't know if y'all talked about that, something to try to help us with that?
Would you like, you want to touch on
Yeah, we had Mike, look into that, you know, last year at your request. Go ahead, Mike.
So, Michael Period. So, yes, at your request, we looked at it and we actually, okay, here's a viable option. And we talked about what would it take, and roughly between $5 and $6 million is what it would take. And so it's been our experience that typically those kinds of numbers, people relative to this is as an alternate, right? It gives us a backup plan. Normally, communities aren't up for $5 to $6 million investment as an insurance policy. You know, if you had a significant reason for that, it is a possible thing, but it's a very expensive process, just because of the substation equipment that would be necessary to make that happen. And so your power suppliers wouldn't just build it just for convenience. They would wind up charging you for it because they don't have a specific need. So that's kind of where that cost comes.
And Duke, who owns the transmission line, you know, we had conversations with them about it when we were researching it, and they basically said it was unnecessary. We were trying to get redundancy that we didn't need. And I get the point, how often is it, you know, bid out that now? So I mean, kind of get that, but that was their analysis. But we could do it for $5 million.
Well, that was $5 million last year.
Yeah, now it's probably $7.5 million.
We know in a lot of cases like that, we don't have the money, but a lot of times maybe the government would step in or something like that. Would it have to be a situation where it would be something like COVID, or is there any kind of way that we could actually try to request to try to get that money?
It's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard about the infrastructure act coming out of Washington D.C. There's a ton of money, and we were planning to try to tap that to make some of the improvements here. You know, the final rules and all ain't, but we may do a pole replacement program heavy duty, because it looks like it's heavily on infrastructure, electric and water and things like that. But yeah, there seems to be an opportunity. I would say, when will it be clear? Next 6 months about what's eligible.
The rules aren't written yet, so you can't apply for something where the rules aren't
But
written.
it's billions of dollars for infrastructure. You might even get that substation. Who knows?
I want to go back to something Robert said, and it's kind of important to think about it. I told you the natural gas prices have moved up. What I didn't tell you is there's no ceiling on how high these prices can go. So don't think that today is as high as it's going to get. Because unfortunately what's going to happen in the country and in the world is that energy prices are going to get so high that some people can't afford it. And then we'll finally clamp off how much demand, because we're not adding enough supply to keep up with the demand. And so people around the world are saying, I'm going to take more out of the U.S., more out of the U.S., and the price can keep going up. So if you were to do, you know, if you were to lower rates down and get rid of all that stuff, not only would we be back doing another increase immediately, but very quickly thereafter, you may have another one on top of that. Because if gas prices go to $9 or $10 or $12, and they've been there before in the 2008-9 time frame, you'll be right back doing another increase. So I think it's a wise strategy that you have that Robert laid out, hey, let's come down a little, but let's not give it all back, because right now, we're burning through on the energy side, those dollars, and we don't have control over natural gas, unless you guys have a bunch of wells here that I'm not aware of, you know, right? So,
And that's where that fuel adjustment,
Correct.
with the
Correct.
cost us an issue.
correct, correct. Anything else?
I'm foggy tonight already. I don't understand how if we reduce the hurricane charge,
Yeah,
rename that to a resiliency charge.
yeah,
And do a rate reduction,
a small,
a small rate reduction, how that's gonna help us maintain the system in a better fashion, to put more money in our resiliency account, that don't,
because you're,
it's off, flip it there, you come down a little bit here.
yeah. Your storm recovery charge, you were paying for the facilities, you've collected most of the money, or a good chunk of that money already. So if, in normal cases, you'd be able to start turning that off. So as opposed to turning it off, there's more maintenance that needs to be done on the system. So don't turn that off completely, bring it down a little bit. Everybody sees a bit of a rate increase, but and you take that money and start knocking off the other poles that need to be replaced along with other equipment. That gives you a little bit of margin, and frankly, you may not be able to spend it all, so that's that rainy day fund in case, hey, what if electric gas prices keep going up and all that? You got a little time on the fuel adjustment if you need to.
Well, it's not a,
You understand?
it is.
You understand that?
Very interesting.
Have we looked at a percentage of what difference it would make on the, utilities for the resident? Yes.
We did an example of 1,000 kilowatts in there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very little.
$138.
7% reduction. You have a hard number.
7% reduction would be around $8 a month.
But,
Now,
you know,
fuel costs have changed, but just in that reduction, it's about $8 a month.
So $8 a month, then it's $5 if we add $3.
right,
Right.
yeah.
So
It's not significant, especially with the fuel adjustment, nothing.
Well, I understand the fuel adjustment, that's one thing that I would be worried about.
But that's what the city is doing. You reduce it just a few dollars on 1,000 kilowatt
But
bill.
just trying to get an understanding so when people ask us what, what we got.
So
And I know we got to have utilities, but we want to make sure that we, they're going to ask about the new people.
Yeah,
But everything my way going now, the new fee on here, so we need to be able to explain to people. And I know we got to do what's right by the city, you know what I'm saying? But we also need to have numbers that we need to tell people. So, if it's for the polls, we got to have this amount for another, if a hurricane comes, you know what I'm saying? What we trying to get to, just something that we let citizens know.
Like they're gonna ask, is this rate gonna be there forever? Cause like, that's what we get from the hurricane fee. And why have we not canceled that? We get asked a lot about, is there ever gonna be a time that it won't have to have an extra surcharge?
So we trying to get $2 million, how long is it gonna take for us to? If we trying to get $2 million, we expect to have that fee on here until we get there. How many years is that gonna take?
I just wouldn't lock myself down like that.
But I'm just, I know we can't lock ourselves down, but I just wanna kind of have an idea. Because if we don't know, the citizen ain't gonna.
If folks, and that's one reason that I brought them in to do this, because, we've all had the discussion about that fee, when's it going away, the loan, of course, we still have to deal with, and the remainder of that, but, it would probably be on there until this council or another council, I wanna call it something else. As I told you, if we don't do this tonight, we're gonna be back and ask you for just a flat out, unless you wanna keep the storm recovery fee, we're gonna recommend that you raise your rates. You really don't have a choice. I mean, you gotta do one or the other. Or you could kick along for a couple of years. I mean, if you just or kick the can, but I don't see, I wouldn't be doing my job. These people do this for a living. They're the most professional people in the state of Florida. And if he was honest with you right now, he would be recommending more of a rate increase, okay? We toned it down. No, this is shutting, this fits our customers. This works for us. But if he's doing his job honestly, he's like, well, y'all not charging, how do you even maintain a system? And he's right. So, you know, I'm splitting the baby, and I'm telling you that I think this is a good way to go for us. But if the name of a fee on that bill is going to continue to be an issue, then we would just put it straight in rates.
I think it's good to change it from Hurricane Michael, because it don't need to be called Hurricane Michael. You know what I'm saying? You know, so if we got to have something on there, it don't need to be called Hurricane Michael. People ain't gonna accept that.
And at least you have that option in there. If things go really well and you build up that cash reserve, you can easily take that off.
And it's decreasing by 7%. I mean, we got, like you said, our utilities run the city.
Totally.
Runs the city. If we don't have our utilities, we don't have nothing, no funding. And we've got to have it.
If you want the other amenities like recreation, police, fire,
Yeah.
they're heavily subsidized. Even some of your other utilities.
At the time of the fee being established, it had two purposes. One was to provide funding to retire the debt. And the additional element was to give cash to build an adequate reserve. And those are numbers that I'll defer, but just recall refresh our recollection of what the purpose of that fee was. The question I have to ask is, have you consulted with our bond counsel to assure that this change still would leave us in compliance with our obligations under that loan?
We do that after tonight, see where the council wants.
Okay, so that's yet to be done.
So we have the financial institution as well.
Yeah.
But just need to see how, which way they wanted to go.
I'm definitely want to try to make sure we go after that loan. No doubt about that.
Anybody on this side have any questions? Come forward, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you very much. I just don't have any questions, just observation. Did you just get this information tonight? Okay, well, this is a lot of information that I think you really need to have a special workshop to look at. When somebody brings it to you and present it, they have a thorough understanding of it. I have an understanding of utilities and everything, and I've got some questions about it. We got so many fees. Our rate, seems like our rates are dropping. I mean, you can drop the rate because you've got all the other little increases that you put on the outside. You don't have to increase the rate or lower the rate. You can drop the rate if you recover it over here on a certain fee. So I just think there's a lot of things on there you need to ask a question about. We know about maintaining a system and all that, and I think we wasn't prepared for Hurricane Michael. That hit us pretty hard, but we just about paid that debt. And the issue with redundancy in our utility system, I think it's something you really need to sit down and have a conversation about, because if the transformers go out like it's done before, you got 3 days, 4 days, nobody has any power in the whole city. That's unheard of in a utility system. So I'm, from a customer, I'm willing to pay extra money to make sure if the transformer A go out, we can switch to transformer B, or we can have load on both of them. I think you need to look at that. And I just think you need to make a decision on something like this, give a green light on something like this, and you just got it, 15-minute presentation. As a citizen, a voter, taxpayer, I'm asking you to give a little bit more time and look at it a little bit more before you do that. Because the decision you make is kind of like a long-range decision. I know you don't understand utilities and the thing they're talking about, what he's talking about the rate increases, these different, the meter fee and all these things. you know, I just think you need to take a little bit more time. I would feel better as you as a representative of the city if you do that.
Anybody else on this side? Anybody on this side have any questions or comments? You may come forward.
My name's Billy Jones. I've spent 50 years in the natural gas industry in the United States. I built infrastructure pipelines, 36-inch, 48-inch pipelines all over the United States. One of the things that I have experienced in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and small towns is this. Towns that have an infrastructure of natural gas, regardless of electrical poles going down, lines going down, the bottom line is if people had natural gas to their house, they could heat water, they could cook. It didn't matter if the lines were down, they had natural gas. I've spent 50 years doing utility type stuff in small towns like this, and it's been my experience that the cities that had natural gas sustain themselves much better because they had natural gas. It's underground. The wind and the trees don't blow the natural gas lines because it's buried. And yes, it takes a little bit of maintenance. And when you ask gentlemen like this, who supplies their electrical plants, it's not coal, it's natural gas. Natural gas feeds the electrical infrastructure. But cities that have a natural gas infrastructure in their towns, like Chattahoochee does, you can run your stove, you can run your hot water heater. I don't care if the electricity goes off for a month. You can heat water, you can cook, and you can sustain yourself. And it's all underground. And yes, granted, that takes a little bit of maintenance. But I've been doing this for 50 years or longer. That's what my father did. We built the infrastructure in the natural gas system of Florida. I brought natural gas to Florida in 1994, 36-inch for Florida gas. Off of that, offshoots, cities like Chattahoochee that has natural gas. I would just say keep that in consideration, that aside from building the infrastructure for your electrical poles that will blow down, lines that will blow down with trees, natural gas is underground, won't affect it. You might be without electricity, but you'll have a way to heat your house, cook food, feed your hot water heaters, and that's basically about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I did have one comment, Madam Mayor, some comments I would make. Tonight was to, if you were interested in pursuing this will require 2 public hearings. So if we did decide to go with this plan, there would be 2 public hearings and ample opportunity to answer any questions.
Robert, are you asking us for a motion to pursue this tonight? Is that what
No.
you're asking, or just a general?
Most of this, if you like the idea, then we would do the necessary ordinance paperwork, and it would bring back, your first reading, and then, of course, you have to have a second public hearing and vote on it. It would be advertised, and you'd hear it twice more, because we would have to change our ordinance dealing with the electric. But we can't wait too long, because as you know, we're going into really getting into the meat of the budget now. So to adequately prepare the budget, we're going to have to make a decision, on that loan and that fee and everything, so that we can have correct numbers for you to develop your budget. You know which way we're going.
So all you need tonight is direction from the council to pursue it, but we're not making a motion on it.
I don't think it's necessary to make a motion, because you can kill it when I brought it back. I mean, if the council wants staff to prepare something for you to look at formally and have the public come in here, we will do that.
I think that since we've just got this tonight, he's done a wonderful job, marvelous job explaining all of this to us. But for me, I feel like we need to not make a decision on all of this tonight, to give us each the opportunity to go out and talk to the public and see how the ones that we represent, how they feel about what you're saying here. It sounds good, but we want to make sure that the public has a say as to what decision that really needs to be made. That's just my personal feeling.
Do we need a workshop have before we make the decision? Y'all wanna go that route?
I believe it would be, if y'all want, if the council wants to move forward, I think that we can discuss it in our budget workshop. Well, I wouldn't think especially would be the exact one to do it at that time.
Next week, when you're talking about the next week?
We got one next week.
We got one next week on the 10th.
And meanwhile, we got time that we'll be talking with we can talk with the manager. I'm sure these gentlemen wouldn't mind us talking with them. So we
So
make the best of it.
the council is saying next week at the meeting on the 10th, that we add that to the agenda and discuss that also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Consent? Meeting minutes of regular council meeting April 5th.
I'm making a motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting April 5th, 2022.
This is a proper motion and second. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Glass,
Yes.
Mr. Kimmery,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Knowlton.
Yes.
Items pulled for discussion.
There were none pulled from the consent.
Okay. Citizen requesting to be heard on non-agenda items.
You got one.
Yeah.
We got two of them. Hold on.
Ms. Chapman.
Good evening, City Council. I come before you on behalf of the Dr. Martin Luther King Committee of Chattahoochee, and we're prepared for our celebration of Chattahoochee, which is going to be held at the river in June. But we had a question from one of my vendors that we didn't have the answer to because I've never seen it done, which is selling of alcohol. Like I said, I've been down to some many events at the river, and I've just never seen it done, so I didn't know how to answer that vendor. We didn't know how to answer that vendor in terms of selling alcohol. How does that go? Is it permissible? We didn't know. So we wanted to know how to go forth with this vendor, how to answer them because we didn't know.
I'll defer that to city manager.
What kind of alcohol they want to sell, beer or?
I think it's like, I want to say they say like daiquiris and stuff like that, drinks, something like that.
I know it would require a special exception because it's city property and it's prohibited, but we have granted, well, I'll let the attorney answer that. So I think it's a special exception, will have to be granted by the council.
That's right.
If you want to permit it on city property.
It happened one time before at the river, Ms. Chapman, when we had boat races one time. And if I remember right, Coca-Cola House, no Budweiser that day, but I can't remember what we did to do that. We may have to go back and do it. It takes a special exception when do you need to know your answer?
Well, the event is June the 4th, so however we need to proceed from the city council, let us know so we can get it done, if you know. Because, like I said, I never heard of it, I don't remember that, I remember the boat race, but I don't remember alcohol and all of that, so that was the first we couldn't do it.
I remember this came up once before, and some of the questions that was asked, that there be an accident happen down there with alcohol being sold, whose insurance will come into play? We had that once before, and I don't really remember exactly how it went, that's why I'm asking this question. If there's an accident that occurs that involves alcohol being sold in a dangerous area such as that, whose insurance will come into play?
I think they would have to get some type of event.
Yeah, we were gonna get a one-day event, insurance, we're gonna get that.
Also, they said that the vendors have their own insurance as well. That's what we're told by the person that's helping us get vendors up.
Well, you have to have,
We have our own insurance the one day that she said,
Yeah.
but in addition to that, the vendor have their own insurance as well.
okay, do you have to have police presence and all that? Do y'all have to bring?
Alcohol is being sold.
Yeah.
It would have to be if alcohol is being sold in an area such as that, yes.
Okay, so,
So Main Street would have to be a restricted area, you have to stay within the confines of points A, B, C, and D to prove the answer. I don't know.
Council, you're raising some very interesting questions and important questions, and I think we do well to examine and deal with and be prepared for next year. I don't see how you pull all that together
In 1 year? I mean, in 1 month?
with first notice here tonight.
June 4th.
Your meeting's not until the 6th, you'd have to have a special meeting.
What, I don't know if that, I know you don't have a
Workshop. They won't be able to vote.
Yeah, they won't be able, okay.
I wouldn't feel comfortable voting on yea or nay with this restricted time frame. We've got less than a month to do that and make sure, have enough time to give them adequate notice to do what they needed to do.
Okay, well, I can respect that, because it is, short, so I can respect your decision that we'll just know in the future to get it early and talk with the vendors, because like I said, this was posed to us in a short notice, and like I said, I never knew it to happen down there, so I didn't know how to give, well, we didn't know how to give an answer, so I can respect your decision to,
Mr. Miller, you, work on that and look it up, so we'll know that we could pose her that question, make sure we'll already have the answer to that question.
Yes, ma'am, I can say that.
Thank you. Ms. McElroy.
Everybody. As you know, every year, WCPB does the peanut butter and jelly drive, and we know that the date has already expired, where Julie Montanaro was collecting it, and so she texted me and to let me know, because we still had some peanut butter here at Power Ministry, Church of God in Christ, Harry Scott. So we had some peanut butter there, and I had been emailing her to let them know, but they didn't get a chance to get in touch with me till yesterday. So what we came together, because on here the deadline was April the 22nd, and then that's when they usually go in and they will weigh the peanut butter and see how much of money collected and everything. So what happened, so what she decided, because right now they have not been able to get all of the peanut butter and stuff collected from all of the schools that was around, so that's why they extended the date.
So that's why you see, this was the original flyer, that she sent me, by email. And so we had, Sister Evelyn Rain, she went around and she redid the flyer, so the church up here, our minister would be able to still collect peanut butter and jelly, up until the 10th of this month. As you can see on one of the flyers, it has the date and time that I agreed to be up to the church here, and I will be collecting it on 32 East Washington Street. I will be there on Thursday, Friday, and Monday I will be there from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. collecting the peanut butter and jelly, and Pastor's giving me the okay to store it there. And also on Saturday, this Saturday, I will be there from 11 o'clock until at least about 4:30, and we're going to be collecting peanut butter, jelly, and everything there. There's also on there, she says that if there is any donation, I will not be accepting any cash or whatever, but there's a place here where you can download it on your phone and do your donation. But we're asking if anyone have any extra peanut butter. You already have the flyers to go around in the community. And she agreed to come to Chattanooga and to pick up the peanut butter herself on Tuesday, starting, she said, between 10 to 10:45. She will come to Chattanooga up to Power Ministry. I don't know if she's coming with WCTV. I wasn't able to get up with her today because she's been busy all day. But she will be picking it up next week, next Tuesday. So if anybody wanted to drop off any more peanut butter and jelly, I would be there at those dates and times to collect them and store them. And I will be there for her to pick it up. And if anybody else wanted to be there, it'll be next Tuesday at, she said between 10 and 10:45.
So just peanut butter and jelly is what y'all are accepting?
Peanut butter and jelly. And if anyone wanted to donate money, we got the little barcode that they can use and do it from their phone, because I would not be accepting money.
So where does this go to? Like, I know y'all do the food bank.
Right.
It goes to Second Harvest? Okay.
Right.
So I know some people ask me, so.
Yes, ma'am. So she'll be here till Tuesday to pick them up.
So you say she, that's the.
Julie Montanera on WCTV at Channel 6 News. Question?
Good thing y'all do.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Public hearing, ordinance number 567.
Mayor, by ordinance number 567 is an ordinance of the city of Chattahoochee, Florida, expanding the hours for sale of alcoholic beverages for restaurants on premises, providing for authority, providing for conflicts and severability, and providing for an effective date, and that is a reading of the title of the ordinance. It is before you for consideration on second reading, and tonight is a public hearing before your consideration of adoption. So if you'd ask for the public hearing, please.
Anybody on this side have any questions or comments on ordinance 567? Anybody on my left side? No questions.
That's something we've been talking about, so I think everybody already knows that.
Can there a motion?
I make a motion for ordinance 567.
Second. Has been properly motion and second.
I have a question. Ms. Jay, this is for the time, or is this for the, which?
This was the Sunday between the hours of 2 a.m. and 12 p.m. That's the closed period.
That's the close view, okay.
questions, council? Okay, you may call for the vote.
Mr. Moultrie?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Kimry?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Glass?
No. Ordinance 568.
Ordinance number 568 by title is an ordinance of the city of Chattahoochee, Florida, reducing the distance between business selling alcohol and churches from 300 feet to 200 feet, providing for authority, providing for conflicts and severability, and providing for an effective date. The ordinance is before you for consideration on second reading, and this is a public hearing before your consideration. If you please ask for the public hearing.
Anybody on my right side have any questions or comments? Anybody on the left side, questions or comments? Council.
Make a motion for 568.
Second. This is properly motion and second. You call for the vote.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Moultrie?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Kimry?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Glass?
No.
Thank you.
So each of those ordinances are adopted.
General business.
Mayor, we have no items under general business tonight.
Okay, city manager.
Okay, I do have a few items, sorry, but a lot been going on. I just want to update you on the Rosedale agreement. We have that back from our attorney. We, staff, with the billing for the water department had a couple of other recommendations. We made a few minor changes. It has been sent to the association. I talked with them yesterday, so I'm anticipating, we should have that back. If there are any changes, very minimal changes, hopefully that will be on your next agenda, and we will have that one put to rest.
Okay.
Second harvest, I always like to mention that, so people on Facebook are saying, what's the date?
May 12th.
May the 12th. May the 12th. So, looking forward to that. We have the smart meter bid for the water meters out. We'll have a bid opening on that coming up in about 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll be able to proceed with that project unless it just comes back totally unaffordable. But in the current situation, who knows right now with the prices of parts, it's crazy. Had a meeting with the school staff about the sign down there. That is progressing. We have the site, everything's located. We will have to cut a few trees, but the school board is okay with that. So we have to get additional quotes to be our purchasing policy here at the city, and then I'll bring that to you for the council to award whoever wins to be in. So that's moving along. Remind everybody, next Tuesday night, nonprofit funding workshop. Was it, did I say it 6 or 6:30? Right?
6:30.
6:30. So anybody, and I have been in touch.
We said 6.
Well, I thought we had said 6.
We say 6? Yes. I'll have the website listed.
Does it say 6:30?
It may be.
I had 6 in my notes, but that's the reason I mentioned it. But I've already, there will be a number of people here because I've already received, I think, 6 or 7 requests in writing. Yes, and we do have a form developed, so any of the people who are here making a request that night, so we'll have the information before they get out of here, but it will also make a record for the council, kind of event they're wanting to have, but they will be here, a chance to come up to the podium so they can answer any questions you have, one at a time, and we'll take care of how much time as we need, but there will be a number of requests, it looks like. The great news, I know you all know about it because I called you, Chevy, but we were awarded the Southside School grant, $3.7 million. That's going to be a wonderful project. I know it was very important to the council, and we're glad that we could get that for you. Worked very hard on that. You know, I told you last couple of meetings I was feeling good just by the conversations with the state people. You can kind of get a feel if you're getting funded or not, and I really felt good about it as I reported to you. But the city has been awarded that, so they'll be, once the state develops the agreement, the contract, and they're you know, it won't be official to July 1 of the next budget year, but that will come to you for approval, and then it will be designed and bid out, and, know everyone, that's really gonna provide a lot of opportunities for seniors, and we'll move food distribution there, and health department coming in. I mean, I think it's gonna really be an asset to the city. Oh, y'all had mentioned in one meeting, I can't remember about, but, you know, the EV charging opportunities coming up. We have found an opportunity, so this federal money coming down for infrastructure, found this one, and, I'm sure you don't, but I want your blessing to apply for it. It's a grant. Put in 2 charging stations downtown somewhere. We'll make every attempt to get 100% funding on that. So the timing on that was good. It must have been you that brought it up. One night somebody said, "Oh, I'm always looking at these grants and everything," and found that it's a brand new opportunity that's just coming out. And so that will get us into charging stations uptown somewhere, which I think will be very important to the city in the future, you know, maybe 5-10 years from now. Very important. P&Z, your planning and zoning board, each of you had selected a member back in 19 or whatever, but we have 2. This Johnny Maynard White is one of them, and it'll be Howell is the other one. If whoever's district, I'm not sure who appointed those 2, but she just told me they're both willing to serve again. If y'all would like to make a motion to reappoint them, we'll get those reappointed and get that out of the way. I'm not sure who picked those 2 names, but you may have another choice. But we would need a motion, official motion on that to reappoint them.
Can I get a motion?
Bernie, and what was the other lady, Ms.
It's
McWhite?
John Ray White.
John Ray White. Would like to present, the city council approved, we return to the planning and zoning board of Ms. McWhite and Mr. Howell to serve another term.
I second.
Thank you for serving, Ms. McWhite.
Yeah.
Proper motion and second.
That's discretion of the council.
Call for the vote.
All right, Mr. Moultrie,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Fox.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions the council has, and then under my comments, the chief has a little presentation for you, but I'll be glad to answer any questions y'all have first.
Okay.
No, she's back there raising her hand.
I just want to be sure that the council gets a copy of that contract, that draft contract that you've sent over to Rosedale Water Association, so that they don't get it, you know, in a council meeting like this, that they have an opportunity to review it prior to. I mean, certainly there may be some changes, but I think that you probably need to see what the attorney has already drafted.
Typically, it would be placed in your packets, you know, the week before the meeting. Unless you want it earlier, I mean, we could provide it if you need it earlier.
We can stop by City Hall and get one.
Absolutely.
As long as we know that.
Now, there may be some changes from Rosedale, but we have what, kind of where we were, but, you know, they may have some additional change, but I think we're getting close. But it will be in their packet that they pick up before the meeting on Thursday.
Okay. So what's going to be in the packet, the next meeting, is it going to be the final draft based on our
Hopefully,
edits, or?
unless y'all come up with something that's unacceptable to the city, then this will drag on farther, but I don't see y'all having a lot of big changes. I could be wrong, but if it comes, I think we're pretty close. Our intent is to put it in their packet for the next meeting, the June meeting, for their approval. If we need more time though with the association, we'll take the time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if I might ask you a what-if question. What if we get the grant for those charging stations? Is that a money-making project for the city? Will that?
Yes, it would be.
And so that would be something that would go into our electric utilities or general fund or?
I guess it would be at your discretion. I think it would be at the council's discretion where the revenue from it went. Of course, you have to buy the electricity, so but there would be a profit in there, and what you charge, you start marking it up. But you can use that anywhere you'd like, I'm sure. I don't see the grant restricting that.
Yeah, we need to looking at the area where to go before it, you need to look for the land that
Would-
we own.
Well, what my hope is we could do the land acquisition, the grant, that when we get the final yes or no, that we can purchase one of those properties up there, say, around the car wash or something. And the city actually would, make improvements there as well as installing these charging stations. Or maybe another piece somewhere, but something available that the grant would purchase it.
That would just increase value.
Bristol's gonna do one, they're doing one in a parking lot, creating a parking lot across from their city hall. Their proposal anyway, is to land acquisition, improve the parking lot, as well as put the chargers.
Well, I may be asking questions that you don't know the answer to, but is that something that is a self-service run all the time, or does it have to have an attendant?
It's a pump.
Oh,
Like here.
I have a photograph if you wish to see it after the meeting, of the one in Apalachicola. I sent it to Ms. Richardson.
Totally
They got one at the
sensible.
restaurant right over there in Mariana with that.
Behind
well,
Dickies.
yeah, Dickies. They
They're
don't
talking
take
about
that
10 or
much
12 of
space.
them.
So if you gonna take two, it ain't like it's got to be something, you know.
If you're over there near the interstate, right up there by Dickies, I got about 12 lines up behind.
10 years from now, you know, I'll be able to find them dead.
Don't say that.
They're already predicting that.
And, you may need more in the future, but we would design it so it could be expanded. And the good part is we're our own power supplier, so the infrastructure doesn't change. It's no big deal. I just think we need to get in as early as we can before Chelsea and, I see private companies, monopolizing this
Yeah.
as soon as they can. So, and I thought about approaching a private company to locate here to provide it when I was asked about it, but why not the city do it if we can?
That wouldn't be a, infringement on a private business. The city wouldn't be in a monopoly to.
You're not refused, we're not
Not
passing an
for
ordinance.
anybody else to let them do it.
Yeah, we would welcome any and all comers if they would like to open a charging station as well. You're not creating any ordinance to prevent them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Fire, or
So in that grant that you're gonna apply for, it will be enough to purchase land also.
That's where I'm going with it. I think our request will be to acquire a piece of land, improve it, and install the charging station. If it allows it, like I said, I just got this, it just came out, and we're gonna put some thought into it and prepare our application that we think we can get.
Just one statement. If you do acquire the land, let's don't make the news where the charging stations are in standing water during the rain, like one of the cities did to the west of us.
No, we wouldn't want to do that.
Okay.
let's learn from their mistakes.
If they speak to understand that.
Any other questions for me? Okay, Chief?
Just was talking to Mr. President about some patches. I don't know how anybody else feels about them, but I feel like I'm on cop with these patches on. So I had former, well, I guess he's still current fire chief in Midway. I used to be chief over there, so he made a lot of patches and badges for us. Thought maybe I would share everybody what the old patches look like first, pass around if you're not familiar. But these are the new patches that we have. They have the boat on it. It's a lot of historical, features on it. I think it's pretty cool. Pass them around. I also have a subdued version of it. I'm gonna pass one back there as well. We have a subdued version of it. Some of the officers think it's cool to have a black and white version of the patch, to match certain uniforms, maybe K9 or whatever. Didn't know if we needed any type of branding or voting or anything to be able to change, an image that's probably historical to Chattahoochee. So I just want to make sure we're doing it properly and making everybody aware of it.
Chief, would you be worried about it if the patch too dark going onto your uniform?
I mean, they can be altered. The color can be brightened, darkened. Those are just
Which one you talking about, the black and white one?
It look good on the white.
Yeah, on the white shirt.
Yeah,
but
they look
then,
good on the
you change the.
without a subdue. That's just an option. We don't even have to even consider that one. That's just you. Generally, in law enforcement, they have a subdue version. Just say you have a police department and you have a K9 unit. They usually have the blacked out subdue patches. So if we already have that specialized unit, we'll have a patch for it.
The person that you're getting these from Midway, they produce these patches?
Yes, he has his own company, and like I say, I've dealt with Nathan Yaruso for years. He does a lot of type of design. I think he designed that board for the fire department. You go in there and see that big, I think it's a B or something. With he's great at what he does. He designed logos on the side of vehicles, every patch and badge, and probably Leon and Jackson County. He's probably made it. So, I just want to get the consideration of the council on, it's just something to motivate the officers.
Did you really say mall cop?
And you're looking to replace the ones on everyone's uniform, all the officers'
Yes,
uniform?
to actually replace the city of Chattahoochee's patch.
And how many would it take?
Well, we have 11 officers total. He donated, I think we have 50, he gave us 50 for free. So I just brought 2 in now. So I have a good, very close relationship with him. I can probably get a price. I probably should have invited him here to be able to, speak on behalf of cost. That's just something I just shared with the city manager. He thought it'd be a good idea to share, let everybody get a visual idea of what we're trying to, the direction we're trying to go in. But as far as the money, I can get some prices, it would be significant.
Would we still not have to bid it out?
Oh, it wouldn't be enough to do.
No, it's very, I only think it'll be $100.
It fall under all that.
Yeah.
Look nice.
They look very good. They're beautiful badges, but how much smaller are these than the ones that you have on?
They could, like I say, it's a little bit slightly smaller than those. My opinion, I think these are kind of big, but I mean, it just depends. We can make those larger, smaller, brighter, darker.
They really need to be a little bit larger,
Okay.
noticeable,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
being this small
Yes, ma'am.
on your uniform, not gonna be able to see, you're not gonna be identified that well.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I agree.
So
Well,
it
we
needs
can.
to be a little larger than what you got here.
Okay.
Not necessarily as big as the one you got,
Right. Okay.
but even if I'm getting out of my car and back there, I need to,
Yeah, measure up against that one you got.
I know they're smaller, but
yeah, they are small, like.
Right up against.
Most definitely, like,
right.
It's small.
I think it's dog.
I still would say it needs to be noticeable.
Yeah, but it's not as
Probably you never thought about those police badges.
Well, as officers, they ask me stuff, and I said, well, let me, see what I can do to motivate the
Great patch, I like the color one,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
because it
right.
is.
Now, if y'all just got like shirts, and like we said, if y'all was just wearing around with the white, like a white shirt or whatever, that would be nice, that black on there.
Chief, would you mind sharing it with the citizens, because we really
Yes, ma'am.
want
I'll
to see
pass
what
them out.
you're
Yes, ma'am.
talking about here.
Yes,
Just want to make sure that, number one, you're okay with the change, and number two, that you like the concept design.
The old one is too big.
We just, we're not comfortable with change things like that on the council.
Just want to make sure it's noticeable, that people notice,
I really like the color, it's more noticeable than what we have. That was a great comment on the
Yeah,
side.
it is more noticeable.
I love the color one.
And it's really big in the office.
Well, and they should have a say so. I mean, that emblem's probably been here, I don't know how many years. Always.
Like I said, the black and white, in the law enforcement world, it's always a black and white patch. I mean, I know it's dark, like that's just generally for K9 units or tag teams. They don't have that bright color to just, they won't be located if they're in the woods or something like that. That bright yellow or something might catch the eye of the perpetrator.
They look very nice, whoever designed
Usually
them.
says a tactical patch. It's not a
Add one thing, the size of the patch, I can tell you this, like, when I drove up on a job site, when he drives up on the site, they ain't looking at your arm, see if you, but at least they know who you are when you drive up in the vehicle. Okay? So, I mean, the size of that really not gonna make that much difference. They are very nice, very colorful.
Yeah. If it
I
makes
don't know
our
if that's
lease,
what you want, but it looks very good, but the size, the old days of a shield covering hold your arm,
I like the river,
Yeah.
the whole historical piece.
but they better recognize him when he gets out of the
I
vehicle,
was
not look
disappointed
at
that
the arm.
Gateway didn't market for the river. I mean, we got signs out there like we came from Greensboro. I mean, we got these new Gateway signs and they're green, like we coming from Greensboro. Our Gateway signs should have marketed us for tourists to come to the river.
But it is kind of hard to change what's being.
well, if it makes your officers happy and you happy, because there's a lot of things
I like that.
that y'all can't do, that we can't do.
Background too.
If that makes them happy,
It's all
I'm all for it.
digitized. This whole patch is digitized. He has the whole setup. I think I sent a copy of to Katie at the warehouse, and it's a brighter picture. So it's
Can he make the background light blue, like we have it already? Because, I mean, the light blue would look nice on the darker,
it's nice. You can have
and then it look like a light blue sky behind it instead of that darkness.
You ain't changing the cars, though.
Hmm?
You ain't changing the cars, though. Okay. Let's check.
maybe a badge.
We're gonna get one this big and put on side here, so.
He's already designing badges too, so I just bring one.
You already designed badges?
That'd be good.
The badges actually have the arsenal on it. It has the dam on it. The badges are really, really nice. Yeah. So I actually have a picture of the badges.
A lot of the historical features of Chattahoochee have been incorporated with both of them.
That's good.
He's pretty good at what he does. He's like I said, being the chief of Midway, it just really motivated the officers. I mean, this smaller stuff make us happy. You know?
Exactly right. Thank you, Bert.
You spend a lot of time in that uniform.
Here's a quick design of the badge. That sketch design. And like I said, this is another picture of the patch. It's lighter. He has different. He can brighten it up. He can make it darker. You know, if y'all can see that from there. Spiritual badge, of course. That's a quick one of the badge. It has the you see the Indian arrowhead. You see the dam. You see the arsenal. And then I think the badges are pretty cool as well. Yeah, that's what I'll cover at.
That's right. And I mean, we got a new police force. Got a new thing on their own.
Just wanted to make sure the council was okay with it.
I say roll with it.
Also been talking about it.
Any more questions?
You might be good at this one.
No,
Thank you, Chief.
not unless it costs $2,000.
Well, yeah, we put that in there.
No, we don't. No.
I didn't want to talk today.
Will we go?
Yeah, on the rank, supervisor, and the gold, that would be silver.
That looks good.
Yeah, they'll have color in it.
That looks
Green,
good.
have the green, blue.
Yeah, if it makes y'all happy, happy. Come to work, we glad, we love it. Chris wants his picture on it. Oh, yeah.
That's all I have. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for the job you do.
All right, Mr. Miller has deferred tonight. He doesn't have any questions or comments. Mr. Kimmery.
Well, how many poles do we have that we rent space on to the telephone companies, the cable companies, that we might be able to get them to help with our assistance in replacing those poles there? Or is that?
We charge them an annual rent.
Charge them an annual rent, so then we don't.
Yeah, I have the number at my office, but it generates $6,000 a year or
So
something.
if
2 to 3 companies.
yeah, if there's a pole that's damaged or in need of replacement, a cable pole, let's say, we replace it and it doesn't cost them anything, or?
Yeah, because we charge annual rent.
Oh, annual rent, okay. Okay. I had something else to do that. It'll come back to me.
That's okay. I completely understand.
Ms. Williams?
Mr. Prisco, where are we with that house that I asked you about before that's burning?
The overpass house, it'll be going to the magistrate. I thought it was fixing to sell, but I have not heard that it went through. I thought it's been closed a couple of times where it would solve itself, but it hasn't happened. You know, a lot of times right before we go to the magistrate, there's a miraculous emergency sale and they clean it up. The new owner cleans it up to prevent going to the magistrate. I guess the owners, as it gets closer, it's more urgency to sell it to someone at a lesser price. And I thought that one was gone about a week ago, but I haven't heard that it's sold. But no, it'll be going to the magistrate. I still predict that it'll sell once it's scheduled. I think it'll sell and somebody will clean it up. But if not, then you will assess the fines and the city would at some point have to clean it up.
Yeah, it's an eyesore coming in.
It is. But it's a process. The magistrate is very picky about that process. But it's going very soon. And if it sells, we would give a new owner, of course, they would come to us and say, hey, I bought it. How much time? And typically, I think it's only fair if he's coming to you, like some of these other buildings, I want to clean this up. You know, I think it's fair to give them, 30, 60 days to do that because they're just getting into it. So even if it's sold next week, you could be looking at a couple of months. If it goes to magistrate process, you're going to look at it a lot longer. That's why we try to avoid that because you will start a daily fine on it, and it has to build up to a point that you can get a judge, in Quincy, to give it to you. And that, they're not going to do it for $500 or $600. It would have to be a substantial amount of penalties.
I noticed that there was a new welcome to Chattahoochee city limits sign there.
Yeah, we replaced the one coming in town, the white square one. We replaced two actually. Some of that new fiberboard stuff. I hope you like them.
I had the same one.
Right. Nice.
You like them. It's
The green sign?
the ones that were there
The green sign?
were just old and they were made out of wood and it wasn't something we could repaint. We could paint around it, but
I'll have to ride out there. I hadn't even left the city, I reckon.
Chris put them up today. I saw them in my office, but I haven't seen it since it's been put up. And I like it in my office.
Are those permanent signs?
The stand. Let her say what she got.
Are they permanent? Are they just temporary?
Those are permanent signs.
Permanent. Because I guess, when I come to the city of Chattahoochee, I see blue on the poles, and I guess I was looking for a continuity, because those signs are green that you have up, right? I mean, when I saw it, I thought I was coming in Greensboro, but that's just wasn't our city color. We have water, so I was thinking maybe we would use blue or something, but, maybe somebody developed that concept for some other reason.
I got to see. I had them seen.
Okay.
But if everybody else likes them.
Mr. Moultrie?
And I guess could have asked you the police camera, something. I know we talked about it one time before. Have you ever looked at the body camera?
I've been in contact with Axon. That's the company that provides our tasers, and they also have a body camera, and it's pretty cool actually because it's once the tasers are deployed, the body camera automatically comes on. Just say you're in a situation where you can't turn your body camera on, and you're in a scuffle or something, and you're trying to fight for your taser. As soon as you deploy that taser, actually when you turn the light on, the camera automatically comes on. But we've been in conversation with the Axon, and it's trying to get the prices where it's feasible, and there's always you know, other elements to that as well that we give up by getting body cameras. So you got to weigh your options too. You know, so there's conversations to be had about that. There's two sides to a body camera. Sometimes you can't help someone that you want to help because of the camera. And then sometimes it, you know, it keeps everybody at bay, but sometimes you can't help someone that really needs it. You know, we have discretion. It kind of takes our discretion away. As far as the public eye, it takes our discretion away.
I had a meeting with the chief. It was yesterday we met, as a matter of fact, and want to pursue grant. So he said to get the information to know what to apply for, but I told him to go ahead and pursue a grant for the purchase of it.
Okay, so y'all will get back with us on that.
Yes.
Glad about Southside, no doubt about that. Just want to make sure that we make sure that our best to God that we work on.
Oh, we have to
I'm
be.
saying they got to, you know, we want to make sure that right people doing it, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that we on top of that. We want it done right. You know what I'm saying? And it's people that went for the bet, not only the council that went for the bet for that, but people always in the background, you know, a lot of things that people don't see. One of the school board members mentioned, you know, that and one thing, and that goes to relationships. Our map was talking with one of the people on the board, you know, and if you don't have a relationship with the other people, then, you know, the school board or the county commission, a lot of times you can't get things done. Because that was a tight vote. It didn't just happen. Mr. Simmons was there pushing. So people that's in the background a lot of times don't get recognized. But they're doing a lot, you know, and that's important. That's something that we've been looking at for years here in this city. I remember a time when we got the grant for the playground part, the actual school was cut out so it would be part of it. You know, that was one of the hardest things that I ever had to sit up here and see. So the city board come together and do things, that's good. You're not going to be perfect. We got a very diverse board that works together. We don't agree on everything, but I think the city is doing well in that sense. You know, people that work together who don't fall out with each other. And ain't up here arguing every day, but working together. That means a lot. You know, especially from where I come back, years back. I feel like I lost some hair and got a break since I've been on that board. But that's one of the biggest things that I always wanted to see. You know, from day one, I remember when I first got up here, I was told not to even be talking about halftime. You know, so this board has come a long way from what it was. And I'm thankful to be serving with this board. I just want to see us continue to try to make sure that the town is, the guys are doing a good job, but I still would like to see us get on some type of system on the street. You know what I'm saying? You know, when they're cutting the grass, some type of system rather than just, you know, but it's not taken away from what they're doing. Doing a good job, but I would love to see that. If we can get our new Rick director to come up and speak with us too on some of the things that he's doing. And I think starting off at Southside, getting that building done, I think there's a lot can be done there. Because a lot of land there, great opportunities to be done there. But I think we're going in the right direction. We just keep pushing. Thankful for how the thing went for the chief. Thank Martin Luther King, they were there helping, you know, and it's still hard for me to just say Martin Luther King because I see them as people, you know, when I see Miss Mike White and see all of them just coming in, it's hard for me to say an organization because I know y'all as people. And I thank y'all for what y'all done. The church, what's the name of your church?
Hope Ministries.
Y'all doing a great job in this city, and thank you for a lot of the things that you're doing. You started off up there by Flint Garden, and you've been moving ever since. So I want to thank you for what you're doing in this city. That's a man that's not even from Chattahoochee, but steps up every second that he can for our kids, giving school, giving bikes and different stuff like that, and he's not walking around patting himself on the bike. But there's kids that riding around on bicycles because he took time out to make sure that they got it. And, you know, when you do prizes, a lot of times some kids don't get them. They're crying, he made sure that he got some extra bikes. That goes a long way. You know, people don't get recognized. But I like to thank you for what you're doing. And I want us to continue to make sure that we do the right thing by these utilities. And I'm glad that we're going to have a workshop. We got to make sure that we do the right thing by the city, no matter what. And that's a hard job sometimes up here to make sure you do the right thing. But also, always consider the citizens that we're serving, you know. And if things not always like they want it to be, we need to make sure that we explain it to them every second of the way. You know why? You know what I'm saying? I think that's very important. Let's just continue to keep pushing, keep praying. We look like we're getting a little bit past that COVID song, but it's still there. Also, there's a group that's coming in. Mr. Manager, I'll probably get which I need to get that organization. They want to do something about COVID testing and maybe food drive. And I said maybe I need to get with the city manager, get with some of the organizations, maybe Martin Luther King, Main Street, whether me just trying to figure it out myself. So I'll get with you on that. I think it's supposed to be Thursday. And they just reached out to me as a city official. But I want to make sure, I know that we as a council all can't just sit down and do it together, but I want to try to get the manager and maybe the organization to try to help make that decision while I'm not making it by myself. And that's it for me.
Go ahead, Steve.
Before I forget, about Carlos, the recreation director, you know, I was gonna have him up here tonight, but they had a practice. I hated to pull him away. I said, well, next month maybe we won't have that conflict, but he's gonna start attending more, but just so happened to have practice at 5:30 today at Georgia Field, and, you know, just getting going, I hate to pull him away. The other thing, I'm sorry, I totally missed this before, and I have discussed this, the mayor and I, but the county, we got a request from the county, about participating in our 4th of July. What did we need, so to make it better? And I met with the county manager. We had lunch and had a follow-up conversation with him. And I think it just makes it a bit bigger and better. But I told him I was not going to obligate for sure until, you know, the council was fully aware of it. And what we kind of talked about in our second conversation was augmenting the music. Because you would have to financial means to do that and bring in another named band so that our local band wouldn't have to try to play for 4 hours. And then a key area like with the big water events with attendance and so forth for the littler kids to have fun. And then even if we want to do some type of shuttle service, they offered that as well. But I just want to make sure the council is interested to do with that. I mean, nothing would really change with the event.
I don't want them coming in trying to run it.
We will still have our committee that runs out of my office. I think it would be only fair that they send the person that sits at the table for the planning that we will start. But it's totally up to y'all. And I told them that we couldn't plan any further until after tonight's meetings. But what we're basically looking at is adding some music. Probably the kitty area would be pretty substantial.
They mentioned about adding no money toward the fireworks. That's the bulk of it.
Yeah, 14 grand.
Yeah.
Look, if that's an interest in your state tonight, and I can relay that. I'm sure if that's what you wanted them to do.
I don't know. I kind of like us just being in charge of us. I just like Chattahoochee being Chattahoochee. I mean, they don't want to get nothing else no other time. Why don't come down here where we're doing something good?
You'll be able to speak.
You ain't telling me nothing. I don't trust none of them. They forget about us on this end of the county.
ask them if they help us get some money for them fireworks.
So you would like 50-50 or?
Yeah, something on them fireworks, you know, and we still, of course, we still in control.
You
But we
better,
really, no, they can't come in and control what we got going on. But the fireworks is the bulk of it, you know, ask them if they wanna help with that.
That's the bulk of the.
We can buy a bounce house, you know, but the fireworks is what's the cost. Bounce house is only $200 if they don't get it free. That'd be okay.
Okay, well, I'm hearing that possibly interest if they pay for some fireworks. Just y'all direct me how you want me to.
Just a question, observation. Have you ever seen anything the county gave to you that they didn't want to come in and have some type of controlling interest? Y'all just think about that for a little bit.
kind of like our little fire truck. Yeah, there you go.
We'll leave it alone.
If you make it too big as chief, we can handle, and we have been able to handle the amount of people we have had, okay? It gets real crowded, it gets rather hectic trying to get out, but it's manageable. If you increase the population of people coming down there, say 30-40% or more, I mean, it'd be wonderful in one sense and a nightmare for our police department getting everybody out in another one. But that's, y'all sitting on the board now.
Well, I agree with you because I go every year. And we have a huge crowd down there, and it's hard. And we only have so much manpower. Last year, I was pure on the bridges, parking on the, nobody could go nowhere. And things get out of control then, and then what are we going to do?
Is the county doing something on their own fireworks?
They never have, and that was the idea. That's the reason they approached us. They want to be more involved with different things that are going in the county.
And we probably would get more traffic by being able to advertise.
You better leave it
It's
alone.
going to be the city, the county, Gaston County is putting on this production down here, whereas people in Chattahoochee, the workers and all, putting on all the work.
We'll just be hosting it.
You better leave it alone.
I ain't crazy about the county, but just me. I don't trust them after the little fire truck though.
I think it would just be
Tell them to give us some money for a fire truck. Then we'll talk about it.
Y'all
You
got
saw how that
more
was?
money?
We need to know.
Should that be arranged? If y'all want to do it, we will. We can get volunteers for truck control.
Yeah.
I know, but we can't control them. I don't know if it
We
can.
got double the officers that we had last year too. We don't have,
People still murder our fireworks. They still come.
we had 4 last year, we got 8 now, so.
So move.
Are we in discussion?
Council is discussing.
We will proceed as directed. They have made the request, and those were the general ideas that we're talking about. I told them I'd talk to the council, and then we will start planning specifics. If they were going to participate, we would give them specifics that they were going to pay for.
They wanted to tell me again what they suggested that they were interested in.
We just bounce around what goes on. Of course, you have the fireworks, then the music. Y'all just going down from the most expensive down. The music, so they were like, yeah, if you want to get another group in there, we pay for that. And I talked about a nice kiddie area with several different, those bouncy things and water slides, and because you rent those and you have to man them. It has to be grown up in here, and
It's usually got to be the person that owns that bouncy stuff.
now, I mean, he really just immediately agreed to the music and the kiddie area that I mentioned. And I said, well, I'll get my council. I asked him if he had to go back to the board of county commissioners. He said, nope, it's already approved.
What about your crowd control?
Well, that's what was just mentioned here. That will be on us, but we could probably get some deputies.
I have to.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be fair to the city of Chattahoochee to pull all of your people from down there. What's gonna happen for the city?
Well, if the county administrator can't get deputies here, then something's changed. you know, if they're gonna be a part of it, then he wants law enforcement here, and I think it would be here. You know, we negotiate all that, I just wanna make sure, I never like to overstep my bounds, I wanna make sure the council wants to do this, and we're done with it.
I don't hardly see how he wouldn't have to ask approval from the county.
Said he already had it.
You probably know what's up with my mom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You probably give up about $500.
Bounce house, you gonna get that for free.
Well, their motion was for the entire year's events, I believe, was $100,000. And it was to get the county more involved in different events.
Is that countywide?
Yeah, but they need to get in on Christmas parades, 4th of July, I guess musical events, or if we had a boat race, you know, I guess their intent is to be more involved in the entire county community, because cities do most of everything. It's not the county, it's the city.
They would have to put out some funds, some good funds to be, because we, with the crowd control and all that, they ain't gonna just be able to do no bounce house and pull a lot of people over. Say they part. You know, they're gonna have to put out some money like we put out.
If y'all have a number in mind, that will be most helpful.
Also think about if we use, I guess, the sheriff department's personnel, you got to pay them. Also consider that as well.
That was what I was thinking. The county was gonna donate premium rights, was looking to be involved, and they could cover the sheriff, the excess, the additional deputies. That might be something that would benefit, but that was, you know how much control you need on that. And if we had a trouble on the bridge like we had last year, do we need something more than the county? Do we need to get the Florida Highway Patrol involved?
Yeah, there was an accident on the bridge that kind of, yeah.
I don't think they need to be on that bridge.
No, they don't, but we need it, we definitely need to have FHP involved this year, even if we do our regular thing.
Well, let's don't let them dictate to us if we're gonna do something. Let's come up with something on our own and present it to them. If they say no, they ain't involved.
That's totally up to the council, that's what I told them, I don't make those kind of decisions, without my council's direction.
Because you know, like last year, that road between the dam and the river, it wasn't very, like our people, I know that's a county road, right?
And we discussed that as well, it will be fixed up very soon in A1 shape. That was part of the discussion as well, so the stripes on Maple, you know, you'll see those very soon. That road at the dam.
Okay, because that's what I was just saying, last year they couldn't even use it to go out of it, it's so messed up.
Now, this meeting I have with the county manager.
So now they want to showboat, so that's what you think? I mean, I'm just calling it like it is. They
Look,
want
we
to
have a
showboat.
great event,
And we do, we have a great event that the city of Chattahoochee puts on.
and last year it was bigger and better than ever. It's like this Christmas parade. When that came up, everybody knows it's not no secret what we're doing. I mean, everybody knows. And they would like to be, you know, Chattahoochee's part of Gadsden County, as they like to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But when it's kind of fun,
Yeah, exactly. They want coattails.
And all I can do is pass it along, and you know, we can keep it on.
Can we think about it and tell you Tuesday?
Sure.
Do we need to know before the workshop?
No, I'll just put it on. I mean, we're gonna have to start planning internally. I mean, my staff and the groups in town, I was trying to put it off till tonight, but no, we're gonna have to start planning like music here pretty quick and vendors and things like that very quick.
Yeah.
Next
We
week.
need well-rounded music.
But if you need till Tuesday, that's totally up to the council. I mean, we're gonna need to know somebody in.
Give them 1 minute.
I'd just like to say, I know that with the event like this, you're talking about a lot of logistics. So, of course, a lot has to be considered, especially when it comes to Archie and the way we're already staffed here in our little small town. And like Mr. President said, I mean, the county is actually looking now at the small towns and cities that are doing great work that is also a tourist attraction. Now, we may not see Chattahoochee as a tourist attraction, but it is. People love coming here. You know, they really do love coming here. And that's kind of why I make the statement about the gateway signs, you know, that we really want to market what we're about. You know, we've got that river down there. People are aware of us. And not just Gadsden County people, but people across the country are aware of this little town. So, you know, if they're gonna coattail us for these kind of events, we wanna make sure that they're giving us a comprehensive plan and some comprehensive, ideas of what they're going to do, how they're gonna partner with us, and how is this gonna be mutually beneficial. You know, because we don't want them to just come in and take all of the marketability from us and say, oh, this is Gadsden County. Well, it is, but this is also Chattahoochee. This is the city of Chattahoochee. And you all have worked very, very hard to rebrand this community, okay, and to market it well. And we want to make sure that we remain the best stewards and the best trustees as we move forward doing that. And we don't want to put it in the hands of the county. So if Mr. Ed Dixon wants to do this, we want to make sure that he's giving us some comprehensive, you know, recommendations or some comprehensive ideas of what he's bringing to the table for this. Or investment, should I say.
You were talking maybe.
Oh, I was talking a while ago. You know, my mind goes to one. The mosquitoes. I've been contacted about mosquitoes. Did you get to talk to those people?
I seen it too.
I did. I called and talked to them too, but I wanted to.
You just have to call. I mean, they have a process that they use, and I thought about another idea, but I haven't. We can go eat lunch with him, Leo or Sneeds, and
They started doing their own spraying.
see.
I saw that the other day.
Maybe we just contract with them to do some spraying.
Because I've seen that they have a spray truck now in Sneeds and they're doing it daily.
Well, maybe if we'd be willing to contract with them, so is them.
Because, I mean, I don't sit outside that much because it's hot. But other people must sit outside a lot because they say mosquitoes are bad.
To explore that.
I intend to go over and go have lunch and ask him how he's doing, what's the, I mean, I'm sure if they had a truck up running, he'd come over and do some spraying, and we would contract with, and then what we do, like we do with fire, with the town. And therefore they would be responsible for the logging requirements and so forth. I don't know how it works, we'd have to work out that, but I don't want to put the city of Chattahoochee in any situation where we could be in trouble with the state.
That's right. I just want to say I enjoy working with my colleagues up here. I appreciate the police department. They're doing a good job. Our chief is always visible. He's always around. Bless Tom, know if he sleeps. Our firefighters, I appreciate them. They've had to do some very difficult calls lately. And it's volunteers. The Martin Luther King group, I appreciate all you do for our community. Chattahoochee Main Street. I appreciate everything y'all do for this community because it does take a whole community to make it. It's got to take everybody working together. And like the preacher, I saw him the other night at Main Street, there at Final Friday. He was out and about, mixing and mingling, and I appreciate you coming out and mixing with the people in town. That's all I got.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain the process about the mosquitoes?
Florida law, it's regulated in the state of Florida through the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Florida statute requires that no spraying is to be done unless a complaint is received and you log the person's name, address, phone number, time they call, and then you're supposed to determine a need. You can't just receive a call on Cedar Street and go spray Cedar Street. There are requirements. You have to do there's a number of ways to do it. One of them is go out there and see how many bites you get. The licensed mosquito man is supposed to test before he sprays. If there's traps to do it, you can go out and do the bites, and there's a number of things. But the days of just cranking up, you know, the city used to have a truck. Of cranking up and spraying, that's just not allowed in the state of Florida.
So there's special license, like if we
Yes.
had our own, they would have to get a special license
You
too.
would have to hire an individual well, your first stage to drive the truck, you have to have a public health, which is one stage. So that person could drive the truck under the supervision of someone with the big license. But if someone, has to have a mosquito control license, state of Florida. And there's not a lot of them. It's a very hard test. So that's why I would have to find out what's going on. I just saw that last week too.
You have to regulate everything to do this, to do that.
I don't know if he's doing it through the county, somebody signing off something, but I'm gonna find out.
One thing the citizens can do on their own, make sure they don't have any standing water in your yard. Make sure they got all, there are things that you can do in your own yard to help with the mosquito control.
But they're calling on,
Yes.
on your street, calling in.
You call that number, because if they receive enough on the street, that pretty much that individual running it for the county's licensed individual, he wants to do right too, you're gonna get a reaction. But one or two people calling on the street, probably doesn't, won't warrant it. He has requirements too.
You have a number that they can call in?
Well, the main office is 875-8672. He also has a primary line with an answering machine, but I don't have that number with me. But 875-8672 is the main office at Public Works with the county, which is where he's located.
Okay.
And if he gets the request, but if you don't leave your name, number, and address, it's like it was never reported. He has to log that and turn it into the state monthly.
Okay. Process of reporting houses, abandoned houses and stuff, can we go over that so people will know the proper way to report if they're having an abandoned house with trees growing up around it?
Okay. 875-4475, which is the warehouse number. That would apply to any, and just ask for me.
Not 875.
663. You have your own mosquito number. 663-4475. Yeah, and just ask for me. We do have a code officer that could help as well. We have to go look at it, take pictures, and send out a letter. But it is ran out of the Public Works warehouse down in the utility department. 663-4475. Any code complaint.
Okay. I just wanted you to go over that so the people can hear it tonight, so they'll know how to report it. Again, with Chris, he mentioned the South Side. I'm very elated about getting the money for the South Side. In the meantime, and I called you about this and brings to the board, there's something we need to do to help our senior citizens, because they don't get the same service that Quincy gets. And they don't want to go to Quincy, and I can understand, because if I'm 70 or 80, I don't want to ride to Quincy to get a service. And when I live right here in Chattahoochee. So we really need to put that on our mind and be working on that, something for the seniors, because that's very important to me, the seniors.
Yeah, I agree. If we only get $10,000 a year, that ain't $1,000 a month for Chattahoochee.
But the electricity has to be paid on the building.
Yeah,
so that money doesn't even go
That's what
toward
I'm
them,
saying.
it just goes toward the building for the electricity.
That's right.
So we need to do something to help our citizens,
Oh, yeah. It's like Meals on Wheels. I've asked. They said there's a waiting list.
It is.
But I mean, we only have like 2 people here in Chattahoochee.
It's still, it goes by need, and it's a waiting list. I call it for the help every day, there's a waiting list.
So we can discuss, I think we can maybe look at some fun for us, with us, but.
And I know when we get the South Side, it'll be better, but this is the now, it may take us a year or two to get the South Side around. Hopefully it don't take that long, but it's in the meantime, our senior citizens are important in this community. I mean, our community was built on those people.
And the space down there is so limited, and the county's fixed to move the doctors in the rest of that building. Some of the bigger activities that we have thought about, and I think you and I have talked about, we'll have the ability to do that, bring in outside agencies for activities like the health department, come do the screenings and take their temperature and check sugar and all that, but we're just so limited on space right now, as well as funds, but
Nothing I have to do now, just think about it. I know budget's coming up, but
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
that's very, and the seniors are very important, because they're just not getting the same things. Again, the second harvest will be May 12th, same location.
Same location, same time.
Okay. I thank city manager, city attorney, chief of police, all the city workers, all the police officers. I really thank the police department for cleaning up close to where I live at. I won't call the name, but I tell you what, we can sleep at night. The music is not blasting at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I really appreciate the job that you guys are doing. That being all, meeting adjourned.